Hello, welcome back to Out on That Line podcast. It is episode 124. I'm here with my co-host Alex as always. Alex, how you doing this week?
Jeff, I am 5'3" and I'm 300 pounds, and your taxes sure pay for my bags of fudge rounds. I'm here. I'm locked and loaded. I'm ready for a good episode, baby.
Well, that is a good segue because we were both wondering how do we talk about Burning Man? What I read today is that Oliver Anthony is one of the 70,000 people that were stuck at Burning Man. And by the time the people hear this, it's probably been, cleared up. But the Schadenfreude, I think I said last week, I was like the purveyors of musical Schadenfreude that we are on this podcast. And I didn't really have anything to say to back that up on the podcast last week, but the universe answered the bell this week, Alex, because Burning Man, one road out, one road in, and that road was apparently a cement mud pit.
You love to see it. You love to see the trust fund kids just slopping in the midday sun, baby, just baking like the little pigs they are. I just want to know what that Oliver Anthony guy was doing at Burning Man. Like, it seems to me to be completely antithetical to everything that he was bitching about in that song, which, to be fair, I've gone back and listened to it because you may have guessed from my intro, but the line about the fudge rounds makes me belly laugh every single time.
Yeah,
I know it's very offensive.
Good.
It trades on very offensive stereotypes, but it's also very funny to me. You should, if you sound like this, you shouldn't say fudge in your song because I'm gonna laugh. Fudge rounds. So the song makes some valid points about, the kleptocrats that run this country, and you know what I mean? But going to Burning Man is supporting that kind of rampant capitalist pig institution that he's all riled up about in the song. So it's like, why would you go? Why would you go, Mr. Fudge Rounds man?
Yeah, and I think so. I think Burning Man obviously started out to be the opposite of what it has become, because I think Burning Man started out and they were trying to make it kind of what, Coachella or Bonnaroo or those festivals used to be, where it was more about just like art and being weird than it was about seeing a big festival set. And I think they have started to get to that point, minus like the music, really. It's just become a destination. It's become like an Instagram event, basically. The whole idea was to, pack in, pack out everything that you need for a few days of just, you could participate in debauchery if you wanted to. It was just pure unadulterated freedom, basically, as long as you weren't hurting other people, at least without their consent. Who knows what went on there? It's that was the point of it. Now it's just completely against that. I mean, there's the video of Chris Rock riding in the back of a truck with Diplo on their way out of Burning Man. So like you can't really sit here and tell me that it's still representing the same values that it used to. But it brings me to my next point about Oliver Anthony is I think he is an AI constructed robot, because after he came out with that song, and like what other way can you interpret, if you're 5'3" and 300 pounds, my taxes shouldn't pay for your fudge rounds. How else can you interpret that other than just like some very like anti-poor, like anti-lower class rhetoric that you hear from the GOP all the time? How else can you interpret that at all? And then he comes out after that and says, well, I don't like them either. They can't use my song on stage because I don't believe in them either. And it's like, okay, where are we? The lines are very squiggly right now. There's no clear cut lines about what you believe in whatsoever. And I suppose that's fair, but it really leads me more to believe that he's just a socially adaptive, intelligent being that's not actually human.
Well, especially when people go to that familiar argument, like, I hate both sides. I think both sides are wrong. It's like, yeah, no shit. That's not a novel idea. But for me, what was so wild about that line is, again, you're on board with this song. It's just like politicians. The dollar doesn't go as far as it used to. You make shit wages anyway. The fat cats are getting fatter off your dime. And you're like, yes, absolutely. Church. And then he's talking about, like, Epstein. I wish they'd look out for minors instead of minors on an island. You're like, absolutely. And then he just slips in that, like, Yeah, and if you're fat and you're on welfare, fuck you. And you're like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
I'm
Like out of
sorry.
nowhere.
How did
And
we
it's
how
out
did
of
RKO
nowhere.
out of nowhere? How did we get here? Yeah, it is a quite the phenomenon. And I gotta tell you, what started off as a poignant song and should have been a poignant song is like the funniest fucking thing to me now. Again, it trades in all kinds of bad stereotypes in that one line. And it's that one line that pissed everybody off. But god damn it, is it funny? Just the way that he does it. For your bags of fudge rounds. Your bags of fudge round. I'm like, do they even come in a bag? I don't even know. I don't think I've ever seen a fudge round in my life. But
They
it's now the funniest thing to me.
come individually packaged. You know, if I'm
Okay.
thinking of like the little Debbie little pastry cake things, they're individually packaged. They're like it's a little like fudge sandwich, you know? It's like
Well,
chocolate cake pieces and then a little chocolate fudge in the middle.
okay, I can get down with the bags of fudge rounds.
They're delicious. And if I was on welfare, I'd still buy fudge rounds. Hell yeah.
Well, and the thing is, it's not like he came out of nowhere with the song. He lives in a fucking camper in the woods. So why is he
Mhm.
suddenly like, and another thing? If you're a big fat piece of shit, you should not get government issued fudge rounds. I
Yeah,
won't stand for that. I'll go to the pedophile island before I'll eat your fudge rounds.
this clearly the way he lives has never paid taxes in his life.
Unbelievable. It's so funny. It's so
It's
good.
yeah, they're just trying to steal Firefest 2's thunder. Because Firefest 2 now, like look at what just happened at Burning Man. Like they're gonna have to crank it up so hard at that festival.
Firefest 2 might be the only pure music festival left, the most pure festival experience because they really committed to making it as dog dirt awful, sleeping on pissy mattresses, eating pieces of cheese. Like they've really committed to making it kind of an everyman festival, despite the fact that you had to pay exorbitant amounts of money to go. But I think they've really committed to their aesthetic, and I hope they don't lose that. If you're listening, Billy Whippersnapper, or whatever the guy's name is, Billy Eichner, don't lose what made you special in the first. Don't try to become Bonnaroo. Don't try to become Burning Man.
Mhm.
You stay Fire Festival and you keep it 100.
Yeah, they and I don't know if you remember last time we talked about the original Fire Festival when it was happening, but we said that we wanted to get sent there and that if there was some listener that wanted to give us their ticket, but now that there's a Firefest 2 happening, we can open that offer back up. So if you do want to send out on that line to Firefest 2, just get at us in the comment section. And where can you find that comment section, Alex?
Well, Jeff, I'm so glad you asked. I'm tickled pink and I'm black and blue all over because I've just been beating myself up saying, why don't we publicize this channel more? It deserves to be so much grander and so much larger and so much more well populated than it is. So if you want to save me from my state, if you want to take my pain away and replace it with something that will keep me going on and creating content with Jeff, like the podcast, like our reaction videos, like singles, like on the record, like everything we do, like we do best on our beautiful YouTube channel, then you got to skedaddle. Don't run, don't walk, skedaddle to youtube.com/C/out on that line. Again, folks, okay? I'm going to go Trumpy hands on you, okay? You got to go. It's a tremendous channel. It's huge. You got to like it. You got to subscribe. You got to leave comments. You got to have notifications on. There's protocol, people, and you don't want to break that. So go to youtube.com/C/out on that line and join us today.
And join us today. That was like a public service announcement. That was wonderful. Yeah,
Absolutely.
that was really well done. Well, what do you say we talk about the reason we're here this week and the new album by the artist Hozier called Unreal Unearth. Now, Alex, we talked about Hozier a little bit before this episode, and I'd let you know to, asked you kind of how familiar you were. So the normal question I normally ask you on the episode, but I asked you then. I'm going to ask you now so we can get it on the record. What was your familiarity with this particular artist?
Take Me to Church. And I absolutely hate that song now. And it is not Hozier's fault. Hozier? Hozier?
I think it's
Hozier?
Hozier.
Hozier?
Yeah, that's how I've always said it. Hosier.
Hosier.
Yeah, it's like a hose but hosier.
Hozier. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good mnemonic device. Hozier. I don't begrudge the feller because it is a good song that just got co-opted by douchebags.
Oh yeah.
And like obviously the video for it had these like strong LGBT themes, and it was very critical of the church and how like the Catholic Church persecutes people for their sexuality or doesn't accept them for their sexuality, and that's great. But then you had people that it's like people that are like born in the USA and think it's this like rockin' jingoistic anthem. People that just like fundamentally misunderstand what the song is about have
Hmm.
made it theirs. And it's just so ubiquitous. It was everywhere. It took over the world. And that's my thing. You let me go ahead and make me sick of a song. Don't do it for me. I'm gonna go ahead and listen to a song a million times until it hurts. Don't do it for me. Don't give it to Johnny. So that really going into it kind of unfortunately calcified me against
Hmm.
Hozier, 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 um, and never really gave him a chance. And then Tanner, friend of the show, Tanner came out strong in favor of this album, gave it a listen, and the rest is history. How about you?
So I am an unabashed Hosier fan. That the his first album, the self-titled album, is top to bottom fantastic. I mean, they have so Take Me to Church is on there, and I agree with you. That song is overplayed. That's his Don't Stop Believing, I think,
Mm,
at this point. So, but it also has someone new, like Real People Do, Work Song. There are so many good songs on that album, and I just really I like him a lot as an artist and just kind of the way he approaches a pop song. It's very much like reverb, yes, please. It's like me when they're grating out the Parmesan at Olive Garden and they're telling me when, that's like him turning up the reverb. He doesn't say when. He's like, just whatever 11 is, just put it up there. And I love that he's just a fantastic singer, and usually reverb is what people are going to use to kind of mask some like kind of hollowness in a voice. He doesn't need that at all. He just uses it because it sounds cool. It's like T-Pain with the auto tune. He just uses that because it sounds good, and I love those songs on that album. This album blew my dick off. I mean, from the second song, was it De Selby 2? Is that the name of I think I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah, De Selby Part 2. I mean, absolutely floored me. Floored me. And then from then on, there were so many moments on this album that just absolutely I like it even more than that original self-titled album, because it just like had so many surprises and like really fantastic moments. Just really well put together, and yeah, I loved it. I can't wait to like just we're gonna dig into it.
yeah, so I mean, let's dig right in, and I won't bury the lead. I also loved it. I expected, let's put it this way, Tanner and I have a lot of musical tastes that sync up perfectly, as do you and I, as do you and Tanner.
Hmm.
And there are a lot of things that we're all kind of in lockstep on. And then there are some times where you don't necessarily make the leap with that person. Tanner loves a very structured, technically excellent showcase for musicians. I sometimes like more risk-taking weirdness, messiness.
Hmm.
Like he, for example, was like, Caliucci's, I see its value, but it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And Tanner, if I'm putting words in your mouth, go to the comments at youtube.com/c/out on that line and let the people know. Um, so we have these kind of differences, and I just got it in my head. I was like, Hosier, it still sounds Hosier sounds way
Say it
more
however, yeah, just say it.
okay.
Everybody knows because they're all
Hosier.
they're all wondering too.
Okay. Hosier. Hosier to me was one of those things where I'm like, I feel like that's going to be a very it's going to be very specific to his taste. Come to find out, I also said, Tanner, I bet you're going to have a hard time getting Jeff to review that album. Something tells me he doesn't like Hosier. And I don't know where I came up with that.
No, I don't either. I've always
So
like since day one. I've loved
so
Hosier. Yeah.
shame on me. Um but it for me it's a great middle ground between that kind of polished technical prowess and then going out on a limb and making some weirder choices, all held together by expert mixing. Just
Mhm.
this was mastered and mixed perfectly. It's beautiful. And like the Lonnie Holly that we did way back when,
Mhm.
this demands your attention, at least for the first time through. Like the songs, yeah, once they get into you, you can enjoy them independently. But listening to it all the way through as an album is just like so richly rewarding. Again, based on the inspired by Dante's Inferno, and we'll get into that, how like where and how that was and wasn't successful.
Mhm.
But the concept and just like the beauty of it kind of demand that you focus on it. Don't be driving, don't be mowing the lawn, don't be cooking a stir fry. Sit with your headphones on and listen, and then work
Mhm.
outwards from there.
Yeah. And I really like I love how he's got a very powerful voice, and I love how he just sets that on top of, sometimes just that's very ethereal sounding music. It's almost like Enya meets the Cranberries, just to keep it in the UK. It's just it's gives me very like witchy vibes. I don't know how else to say it. That's kind of always what he has done. Like work song, he talks about like life and death a lot. Like those are huge, huge themes in his music. He talks about love a lot, just basically the full gamut of like the human experience is kind of what he's interested in talking about. And while he does have like most of his perspective is kind of from himself and how he's seeing the world, I don't think he really puts himself into characters as much. I think he's not a songwriter like a Bruce Springsteen or, somebody like that kind of makes up these rich stories about folks. He's using his experiences to tell you about that, but he does it in such a grand, like kind of just ethereal way that it's never uninteresting. Um, Starting right out, you hear that, the first song, Dis Selby Part 1 is like a great kind of ease you into things, and then De Selby Part 2 hits so hard. First time slows it down a little bit more, and then when he hits Francesca and
Mhm.
just completely, absolutely just starts rocking out, and that's just a full-on, straight up, like, Queen-style rock song. Just absolutely incredible kind of choices musically throughout this whole album. There's, like every part of the album has, like, a knockout highlight. It's really, really good.
Francesca in particular was fantastic. It was the first, like I was in it, but as soon as that song started, I was like, "Oh shit, it's going to be one of those kinds of albums."
Mhm.
And I got very excited. There was a lot of gripping material on this, and like you said, there's never a point where it was uninteresting. I think some things were maybe more successful than others. So that brings me to the Dante's Inferno of it all.
Mhm.
There were kind of parts where lyrically he decided to abandon the concept, and start drawing upon sometimes cliches like, the broken heart working. He doesn't actually say working that 9 to 5. That's an inside joke
Mhm.
about like every songwriter will be like working that 9 to 5. um so there were kind of these moments where I think he fell back on tropes, but not in any kind of like ooh wag of the finger way. I think it's just these digressions that kept the album from being entirely a Dante's Inferno concept album, but I didn't need it to be one.
Mhm.
It just had to be inspired by it and make him come up with whatever songs that inspired. And I also think it really fits his aesthetic perfectly, which is this, you talk about the reverb, this like big chamber choir sound that he's so fond of
Mhm.
and so good at. His voice, we'll do a little digression here. He has this ability. There are like when you're really trying to hit a high note and hit it loud and like shake the rafters, and you just kind of have to yell and go with it, and it's big and it's open. There's not a lot of vibrato, and it's just bah, you're going for it. There are people like that. One of them being Idina Menzel, who are prioritizing technique over the sound, the emotion, the beauty. Idina Menzel sucks ass. I'm going to go on record and say Idina Menzel sucks. There is nothing pleasant about listening to her voice. She's just trying to show you she can hit these notes, but there ain't nothing beautiful about them.
Yeah.
Hozier can hit these notes and you can tell he's swinging for it, and he's giving it all. He's giving it all he's got, Captain. But it's still beautiful. It's kind of coarse. It's kind of on the edge of technique, but that's what makes it so wonderful because it's pushed out of him by a feeling, by a thought, by an emotion. And that to me is what makes him such an interesting singer is he allows himself to trust that he has the technical ability, trust that he has the voice, and just let everything come naturally as he explores the concept and the
Mhm.
music.
Yeah, and I really I think of the best example of Hozier for me is the song "Someone New" from the first album. Just the way that it's structured, it's such an odd concept of, the lyrics being, "I fall in love with someone new," or "I fall in love a little bit every day with someone new." And it's just such an odd song because it's fully admitting, like, I'm commitment phobic, like, I really can't sit still anywhere. But at the end of that song, he goes into this, like, full on, like, straight up chorus, like this, like, it's like he's got a choir there with him, and it's massive, it's big, it's like not what you expect out of that song. And for me, up until this point, until this album, that was the quintessential, like, Hozier for me. Work Song is fantastic, like Real People Do is a like really heartfelt, nice, slow song, but Someone New was always the standout for me until this album. There's a few songs that in fact surpass that. Unknown slash Nth is phenomenal when that one gets
Mm,
kicking. Francesca's phenomenal when that one gets kicking. Um, All Things End, phenomenal. I mean, DeSelby Part 2, I mean, all of them are like, he took everything he did well previously and just poured kerosene on all of it. And I like that this is your first, like, real deep experience with him, and I've gotten to see the progression. So I think we get, like, kind of both bases covered as far as, his progression as an artist versus if you come in right now. And I think this is very much like unmistakably Hozier. I don't think he's doing anything sound-wise or sonically that he hadn't done before. He just hadn't put it together like this before. And it really is something special when you hear those highlight kind of songs. Even the song he did with Brandy Carlisle on there
mm.
was phenomenal, man. And just how excited do you think she was? Because I think he doesn't really do a ton of collaborations, and I think he's fairly reclusive, like, kind of as a person. Like, he doesn't really do a lot of public facing things. He plays shows, and that's really all people ever see of him, I think. Um, so him getting someone like her on there, he probably had her picked out. He was like, her voice is exactly what I want on this song. And it works so perfectly.
Well, yeah, their voices are absolutely perfect together. Damage Gets Done was a highlight of the album. Francesca was a highlight of the album, and Butchered Tongue was
Ooh,
a highlight of
yes.
the album for me. Um, eh, because one of the wonderful things he does is just leaves himself a lot of room to grow and digress, but not digress in a like Frank Zappa way where it's like, Mellotron solo, but everything starts off pretty quiet and somber, not in every instance, but for the most part, he'll start here and leave himself someplace to go. That's like, don't get me wrong, I love rock and roll, but rock and roll tends to have like one gear, which is crank it to 11 and tear the knob off, pedal to the metal. That's great for that specific kind of music. But I think when other artists are reaching for energy, they ape that and it doesn't work for their personality or their genre. So Hozier very wisely kind of keeps it in reserve to build, to build, to build, to build, to build. And there's so much grandeur to these songs. They're big. Like, if you'll allow me a minor digression, after I listen to something, after I've got my opinions, I'll go through and I always got to read Pitchfork because Pitchfork pisses
Yeah.
me the fuck off.
Yeah, every time, dude, every time.
They shit all over this album and said that it made him look like an interloper and like he was like a pale imitation of himself. And where's the guy that gave us Take Me to Church? It's like right fucking here. That's a
Yeah.
great song. It was
Yeah.
ruined by douchebags who were like, I can't stop playing it. And, that's a fine looking high horse that you got in your stuff. Shut the fuck up. Stop. don't make me hate the song, but they did. I don't hate it. I just don't. I can't enjoy it anymore.
Mhm.
But I was kind of shocked at the critical response to this in some cases because I don't know why, like what they were expecting, because this is very good. It's very well put together, and people are dunking on it for the most arbitrary reasons. One of which was, well, conceptually, it's not really cohesive. And I'm like, okay, but maybe that's a feature, not a bug. Like maybe again, it's inspiration versus like I have to nail
Mhm.
this concept.
Yeah.
So I don't understand, like every time, me, one of my big things is I want artists to get wild and get out of the pocket and do something kind of interesting and different. So you get someone doing that, and then you see like the lamestream media suddenly being like, yeah, no, this wasn't good. And I'm like, what the hell did you want? What the hell else did you want? Like it's consistent and yet it's fresh. It was interesting and yet it was familiar. I don't know. I really, really, really enjoyed this album. I can't think of like many more ways to say that. But Hozier won a fan in me, won an admirer in me, because I was completely unconverted, and this album kind of brought me to that point. For me, I'm going to say it's a stream it, which don't let that confuse my enthusiasm and say, well, you didn't love it that much. You only gave it a stream it. I don't want to be disingenuous and be like, well, now I'm the number one Hozier fan. So go ahead and stream it.
That's fair because I'm gonna say buy it, and I already have. So it's
Well, there we
yeah,
go.
I can I can fully endorse that statement. I really have you gone back and listened to any of his older stuff? Have you had a chance?
Not yet. Because I realized after you were talking about it, I do know I fall in love just a little more.
Yes,
Like I
because it
do know
had
that one.
had Queen Marjorie in that music video for that one.
Really? Good old what's her name? Yep.
Yeah,
Drawing a
Queen
total blank.
Marjorie. Yeah.
You know,
That's why I said Queen Marjorie.
it made perfect sense to me.
Yeah. But like
Yeah.
Real People Do is a wonderful song. Put that one on with Elizabeth sometime. You can bleep out her name
Okay.
if we're not doing government names of on the podcast for
It's fine.
but yeah, put that one on when you guys are just kind of hanging out, you know. It's a nice song. And then work song, When My Time Comes Around, lay me gently in the cold dark earth. There's no grave can
Mm.
hold my body down. I'll crawl back to her.
Wow. Strong.
Yeah, he's
It's no
he's
when
a
I die,
poet.
lay me down in the Dixie dirt, but
Or what was that? There was the song by the band Perry. I don't know if you remember that, but they just
God.
it was on Froggy 100.9 like every 5 minutes.
Ugh.
So
Well,
I'm sure
I
I'm
didn't listen
sure
to a
you
lot
heard
of
it at your
Froggy
dad's
back in the day.
office. Well, I'm sure you heard it at your dad's office.
No, the only thing I remember hearing at his office was Mandolin Rain. Listen to the mandolin rain.
Some-
God bless
yeah,
Bruce
he would
Hornsby.
have. Yeah, he would have some easy listening in there.
Oh, absolutely. You got to keep
Yeah,
it sedated, man.
yeah, yeah. I can't have anybody getting too hopped up in there. Well, that was a good one. I like that. I like that album a lot. I really suggest you go out, at least listen to it. Do what Alex said, at least stream it. If you were already a Hozier fan, I think you're gonna love this one, like I did. So go ahead and buy it. It's out on CD, which I recommend. It's also out on vinyl. I also recommend that, but CDs are just easier and they sound better. I'm just gonna say it. Maybe that's a hot take, but it's true. It is the
Holy
case.
shit.
Yeah, it's easy to say when it's the truth, Alex. But make sure you let us know down in the comments below what you want to hear because next week I think we have Tyler Childers will be out
Hmm.
for next week, and then I think it's Mitski. I say we have
You are
backed right up
correct,
to that.
Senator.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well we have our next 2 weeks locked up, but we'll have some openings after that. So let us know once again down in those comments. Tell us what you thought of this album. If you agree with Pitchfork, you can put your comment in there, but it might get deleted because we loved it. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Alex, do you have any closing thoughts?
I just want to say, if you're 5'3" and you're 300 pounds, the government should not have to pay for your goddamn bags of fudge rounds.
No,
But we
certainly
will,
not.
because we love you. And we will always pay for them. Keep coming back. And we'll give you all the musical fudge rounds you can handle.
Until next time.